Contenders, ready! Gladiators, ready! 3, 2, 1, the Gladiators!
Hello and welcome to a very special episode of the GladPod in association with Gladiators TV. Today, as we all know, marks 30 years since that very first episode of Gladiators that quite frankly changed all of our lives. So we thought, what better way to celebrate this anniversary than to get as many gladiators together for one extraordinary GladPod, which is also going to launch series 3 of the GladPod. Producer Paul is here as always, as is Diane Youdale, aka Jet, and we're joined by a few Glad fans today, which is a bit of a first for us when recording an episode of GladPod. But hopefully you guys enjoy it. Hopefully you'll be chipping in with a few of your questions along the way. Producer Paul, thank you so much for putting this all together. But we've decided to split them up into 4 groups, haven't we, to make sure that we can hear from them all?
Yes. I thought, obviously, being a reunion episode celebrating the 30 years of Gladiators, I've invited every single UK Gladiator that was on the ITV series to be part of the GladPod tonight. Some of them obviously couldn't make it, but a lot of them did take up the invitation and have managed to come along tonight. So yes, we split them up into 4 groups, and throughout the next 90 minutes or so, we'll be speaking to each and every one of them.
And Di, 30 years, can you believe it?
Yeah, it does just feel like yesterday for me. I can't speak for the rest of you. However, we will be asking the questions about what it was like, taking memories all the way back, particularly to what it was like the first time you walked into the arena.
Would you like to introduce the first group we've got of Glad? I mean, what a stellar lineup we've got for this first group.
We have Kim, Lightning. We have Kate, Zodiac. We have Nikki, Scorpio, and Daz as Diesel. Welcome, everybody, to GladPod. It's our 30th anniversary. My word, it just feels like yesterday. What was it like the first time you walked into the arena, Kim?
I loved it. The thing is, I've been competing with gymnastics and bodybuilding. I was highly competitive, and of course, you've got an audience anyway when you compete. So I was used to audiences. I was used to hearing a pin drop, though. So going out and hearing the fans sounding like elephants roaring and cheering and shouting and clapping, it was electrifying. And I actually got quite a buzz off that, and that's what really made it for me. And that's what I remember most of all, the fan interaction, the electrifying atmosphere, and I just loved it, absolutely loved it from day one.
And how about you, Kate, my Zodiac, my gladiator sister?
Well, slightly different experience to Lightning, I have to say. Being an introvert and being quite shy, I've got to say that when I went on to do the live shows, I had no intention of ever going on television. That's the honest truth. And a few months later, I was standing backstage in my costume thinking, what on earth am I doing? I literally was shaking. Everyone was trying to give me advice. Everyone was trying to be really helpful. And I was thinking, I'm not supposed to be here. I'm really shy. And I'm going to hate speaking in a microphone. I'm going to hate being, but I grew into it, and I grew to love it.
What was it like for you the first time you went into the arena, Nikki?
When I walked out into the arena, the adrenaline was so high. I cannot tell you. I've loved competing all my life, and I actually couldn't get my breath. And even now, ridiculously, when I hear the Gladiator music, the heart starts going. I'm thinking, I'm walking down the street listening to my earpods. It was quite unreal, and the camaraderie between us all was brilliant. Nobody else had done that job before. It was only us.
Daz, for you, I know we're just hearing what Nikki's saying about every time you hear the theme tune and the music. But Di also mentioned hearing John Anderson. Like, does his voice still haunt your dreams?
Gladiators ready. All right. No, I think obviously, the show had been going for many years when I joined. So I was like this, I felt like an afterthought because it was coming to the end of the series. But walking out to the arena, I have walked out, I boxed for England, so it wasn't unusual. It was glitzy and glamorous and fun, and you could feel the energy and the adrenaline in the room. And I thought that was, obviously I'd watched it before I joined, and so it was a really great experience.
What is the one standout memory that anybody has from the show that you can share with us right now?
Do you know what? I want to step in here because I don't, like I said, I was the last boy to join. And I remember everybody takes the piss out of everybody. I noticed that when I first joined the team, and I was like, okay. And we were sitting backstage and everybody was kind of chilling, and Cobra turned up and he'd wrapped all his fingers with toilet roll, each one of his fingers, because they're all taking the piss out of me because I've got big hands. He put toilet roll on every finger. He put toilet roll down his package. And he walked in and everybody knew straight away. I was like, freaking hell, so this is what it's like. And I'll never forget that. I always remember Mick doing that, and that was the character that he was and the character that he is.
And what about for you, Nikki, then? What was kind of a standout memory for you from Gladiators?
As you know, my daughter, she was a baby when I first started Glad. She was under a year old. By the time, just before I left, she was talking and she was in the arena, and I was being hoisted up in front of 10,000 people onto Skytrack, and at 10,000 people I could hear, "Mommy!" That was my little girl shouting to me. And it's funny, as a parent, you just clock into your own kid's voice, and even like that, being taken up to compete, with the adrenaline high, I could hear my little girl's voice shouting, "Mummy." That's a big one.
I like that, Andrew, your standout moment about Wolf. Do you want to share that with everybody?
It's always when he makes excuses every time he lost.
He did, didn't he?
Yeah, that always a standout for me. So.
Bad loser.
He wasn't the only one that wanted to do that, let me tell you. Every time I had to go on the wall, I was like, no, do not put me on the wall. And the worst of going on the wall was not about what contender I had. What was worst was going on the wall with Kim, with Lightning, because I knew that she'd be halfway up it before I'd even got the first handhold. So it wasn't even a case of what contender am I up against. I was like, oh no, I'm going to be in Vision with Lightning. That makes it even worse.
I love that, Ali. You've just joined as Siren. No introduction, just drop straight in with that Wolf story there. But leads me on to a good question for Kim. We're just talking about excuses that Wolf made for losing. But Kim, you never lost, so you didn't even have to make any excuses, did you?
To be honest, I've got quite a record of unbeatable games, and there was a lot of games that I absolutely loved. And they're endless. I mean, I can list 7 games, which I absolutely loved. And I remember very, very late at night, and it was after midnight, we get back to the hotel, and right at the end of the corridor, where we're usually on the 10th floor, right at the end of the corridor, outside the security door, was a piece of paper, A4, and it says what you were doing on the next show. And I just remember thinking, I'm either going to get a good night's sleep or I'm going to get a really crap night's sleep. And I just remember I couldn't go to sleep until I knew what I was on the next day. 9 times out of 10, I was really excited and I couldn't wait to get out there and do it. But there was only a few games which I thought were a waste of time, shouldn't really be in the show. And thankfully, I never actually got to do them. But yeah, I loved most of the games, and quite proud to say that I won most of the time.
Well, yeah, you had a 100% win rate in Series 6 and a 71% win rate overall. Kate, the question I was going to ask you is, which of the events did you hate playing the most, and which ones did you love playing the most?
Well, I think I probably loved Pendulum the most.
Dun, 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 dun.
I think we were both known as the Pendulum. Yeah, exactly. Going up onto that ball was fabulous. That was an absolute adrenaline rush. And you had to get right up real quick, didn't you, to be able to kind of get to the top like a cat and mouse, so you could find your contender. I love that.
Sometimes they go right underneath, though, wouldn't they?
Exactly. Yeah, go right underneath. Yeah, that was super fun. I loved Skytrack. I loved a lot of the games last season. Say probably my worst game. The obvious would be to say Polax for obvious reasons, but I hated Tilt. I think Tilt was really horrible, wasn't it? You had to actually time that so you got that tilt back before.
And it wasn't a very exciting game to watch either, I don't think.
It wasn't. Oh, but you remember the bucking one that we had just for about one season?
The joust.
The joust.
Do you remember that?
Yeah. And you had to time. I remember
in a bikini, yeah.
2 forward, 4 back.
Yeah.
That was brilliant.
And the sumo, was it tug of war, sumo, something like that? Dog fight?
I don't remember sumo.
Dog fight was when we were up in the air, and then I remember it was a new game too when I'd first got on, and I'm in my harness and I've got my little mini stick in it, dang, 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 dang. Bringing us towards each other. And then one of the straps of my harness undid. So I was like, oh, Like this, just thinking this stuff's like ridiculous. You know, I was like hanging on one.
Oh my Lord. Wouldn't want that on Skytrack, would you?
No, definitely.
Hello, everybody.
Hello. Hi, Suzie.
Hey, Suzie.
I'm just loving listening and watching everybody chat, just laughing my head off. What I love is that none of us original Gladiators can remember any of the stuff from the show. Yet all the super fans here, all the lovely people on with us right now, know everything. And thank goodness for these people, for you lovely fans, because otherwise we wouldn't remember anything about the show. And thank goodness you guys remember it all.
And Suzie, you know, we're talking about 30 years of the, you know, the original Gladiators, but it was the work that they did and the efforts that they put in to make the show what it was 30 years ago, which enabled you to then become a gladiator yourself, right?
Yeah, well, you know, they did all the hard work and I just strolled in. Job done. Thanks very much. I mean, what a great thing to come into, and being already established show. I could come in, there was like, you know, 14 million viewers, learn from all these guys and hopefully do a good job. Easy.
There has been obviously a lot of talk, and you guys have appeared in many articles and TV appearances recently with the sort of the reboot and stuff of it. And Ali, you did an interview, didn't you, recently? Some great pictures as well. But has it kind of brought more people to your attention suddenly go, you were in that Gladiators, were you?
My classic story is I went to my gym. I do CrossFit in Edinburgh, and we've got an amazing coach who's from Colombia, Sam. And of course, he doesn't, some of the people in the gym know my history, but not everyone. He certainly doesn't, because he's new to Scotland. And he was like, oh, I saw you in the paper, blah, blah, blah. He's all excited. And he went, when did you do that? And I told him. And he went, oh, I wasn't born. And I went, okay, do not talk to me ever again. Go over the other side of the gym and don't come and say anything to me. Like, nothing. Okay. Yeah.
And Kim, for you, I know you've done a few bits TV-wise as well. Do you think you ever get tired of looking back and talking about that time of your life?
No, because it was such a huge part of my life. I mean, I did it from start to finish. There wasn't one show I missed. And, you know, I've got so many happy memories, and, you know, the experience that I had throughout all those Gladiator years, well, it will always be with me. And, you know, no one can take that away from me. And I would do it all over again had I been 20 again. You know, I mean, time's moved on and you can never turn back time. You can't ask a 50-year-old to do a 20-year-old thing. What we have come away from Glads with is amazing. The experience, you know, we had a lot of banter. There was a lot of fun it was really, really hard work. You know, there was no getting around it. From 8 a.m. till midnight, you know, it was very, very stressful and exhausting on the body. You know, a lot of people don't understand how intense it was on the physiques and mentally as well. You know, it was very explosive. You know, you're on, you're off, you're on, you're off, all then nothing. And, you know, that's quite taxing on the body. And it was all year round as well. We were flying all over the place. I was in hotels more than I was at home. So, you know, it was a busy time, but so much fun. And I loved every minute of it.
And I've just seen Rebel popping into the chat.
Oh,
sorry, bad hair day, so I've got a hat on today. But anyway, here's the family. Look at you guys.
Look at you.
Just, you know, it's really bizarre looking at everybody, because it's almost like I'm thinking, wow, like, even though it was such a long time ago, like the ambience and like the rapport that we all had, we could all be in a room together and just talk like it was yesterday.
Yeah, definitely.
Isn't it? It's just nuts. I love it.
How different would it have been, Suzie, had there been things like social media around back then?
Oh my goodness, social media when we were on the show would have been, I don't know, good and bad. I mean, amazing. Would have made us all even more superstars than we were at the time.
I'd have been a rock star. Life would have been so different.
But behind the scenes, all the silly shenanigans, you know, just sort of panto-style jokes and pranks on each other may have been caught out a bit. But as Jenny said, you know, Jenny would have been a supermodel, an A-list Hollywood superstar, even more than she is now. So that would have been an amazing thing. Maybe they'd have done like, I don't know, put us on Love Island, or some of us on Love Island, or, you know, we could have had Gladiator Island, where I don't know, even like with stuff we went to and did Mauritius, maybe they could make a whole show about us, like Gladiator Island. I don't know.
Exactly. You'd have had John Anderson's going, man, excuse me, can you get into your rooms, please? Don't pass your bedtime. Was that good? Was that good, Alex? Was that good?
Terrible.
Daz, and obviously you're joining us from the States. Do you ever drop it into conversation that you're on Gladiators over there?
I feel like I was the secret gladiator because I came in right at the very end. Nobody really knows Diesel. So like I said, I was already at drama school when I joined and I was doing stuff. But a couple of people have brought it up and said, oh, were you in that show? I kind of remember you. That was the term I was used. I was... I said, I was right at the very end, mate. But let's not talk about that. It does come up a few times. And Gladiators did open the doors for me. It was at the end, but it helped me get a couple more roles. And, like now I've done maybe, 40, 50 movies. So
I just tell the Wool thing that happened. All the male Glads played a trick on Wool.
What did they do?
The second series, they got so fed up with him when we were staying at the hotel. So they were saying he was taking this and taking that, and he always wanted as much as he could get, which is a little bit of Wolf, as we know. What the male Glads did was they put everybody's starter in the whole hotel on mixed bill on Wolf's bill.
No.
Brilliant.
And you can just imagine his face on that one.
Kim, you've been asked this 1,000 times already since the news, but what have you made about what's been announced about the reboot, and how do you feel about it?
Like everybody else, you think, oh, it's another Glad, going to try and bring it out. And like Sky TV, will they be putting enough funds into it? With this health and safety thing going on now, back when it was 30 years ago, it's really stepped up the place. The BBC is massive, like ITV, and I think if they can put enough money into the show and they have someone like Nigel Lithgow and Kenny Warwick that's going to make it extravagant, and it really does have to be spectacular to come across on the TV as good as what ours did. The arena they've got is very big and it's going to have a similar capacity to what we had, so it should create atmosphere, and that's what comes across on the TV. But then you've got to look at the games, the music, the events that they're going to do. So everyone's thinking, oh, will it be Queen? The music? They've got to use the music. What will their costumes be like? What will the events be? Who's going to commentate and, present the show? So it's a whole package that makes the show good, because you only need one thing and it can fall completely flat. So, and athletes, it takes someone to make a show, and, it's all about the gladiators. If the fans don't take to the gladiators, then, it's going to fall flat on its face. So, these gladiators need to be able to showcase to the cameras and the audience, connect with those, and then they have to be likable and they have to be relatable to the fans. But then they've still got to perform. They've got to look good. And it's not about showing up being big and muscly. It's about, do you have the whole package? Are you agile? Are you fast? Are you strong? Do you have that will and determination? Have you got the fighting brain, the eye of the tiger? It's everything. You can't just turn up and be good at, say, duel, or you can't turn up and just be fast. Because at the end of the day, you can't get on the show and do the event that you're good at. You've got to be an all-rounder, because otherwise it's going to be very boring seeing the same gladiators week in, week out doing what they like. They have to have a real good team, and it's going to be hard to live up to our show, and I think it's doable, and I think you have a huge possibility of a following, because the social media these days, if you imagine what our show would have been like with social media, it would have been mind-blowing, absolutely crazy.
Yeah. And I think what will be interesting will be the fact is that when our show was on, there wasn't that many channels. There wasn't that many things going on. So because there is so much going on now, it's going to need something exceptional to take it to another level. And one of the things that I think that we had, that I think maybe the second startup of Gladiators never really had, was that we were our own people. We didn't try to invent to be characters. And we stayed ourselves. And I think that, when they tried to reenact it beforehand, everyone tried to be a character. We only had one character, and that was Wolf. Everyone else was themselves. And I think that's one of the things that...
Did it himself. Wolf did it himself.
100%.
Yeah. To me, Wolf Mick was always the villain of the movie, and you always love to hate the villain of the movie, and he got that character. But what Kim was just saying about being an athlete, great, but we all have a personality, and that is what's really important. Each gladiator is their own personality, and that is really important and special watching it work together, and everybody can bounce off each other. So when the BBC are going to try and create this, when they're doing their castings for their auditions for their new gladiators, these guys can't, and these girls can't just be fit. They've got to have personality, got to be, the camera's got to love them, or they've got to make the camera love them.
Have fun. I mean, more than anything, to have fun. Like, we all had fun. No one tried to be over egotistic. Everybody just went in there and we all worked together as a group because we all wanted to shine and we all helped each other out.
And we respected each other, but also the contenders. And at the end of the day, it is an entertaining show. It's a sports show. And if a contender comes on and they do well, you've got to praise, where credit's where it's due. Yeah, she did amazing. She did this, that, and the other. Fair play to you. Well done, love. I think what happened on Sky was it was all very much, but she was this, she was that, and I'm better. Yeah. Hey ho, come on. Gladiators are there to prevent them from scoring points, because that's what it's all about. They're scoring points. We're just obstacles that are getting in the way. It's not a matter of I'm better than you. And there's no point to prove, although deep down, very quietly, because
of course, we want to take him out. We want to take him out. Do you remember the girl we called Digger?
Yeah.
Oh my God. We're like,
everybody wants to win, but you still have to stay respectful and give praise where it's due.
We had fun.
Good sportsmanship.
But then I figured when we went back on Sky, what they did was they brought in the water element. Everything we did, or a lot of what we did, was above water. So I figured
I'm a black woman, I get my hair wet.
I realised that because I was the one that always had to end up with water. But I just figured if the BBC just set fire to everyone constantly on the next show, then that'll up the level.
I tell you what, on the hang tough on the Sky one, as you went on the outside ring, no one told me this, but if you traversed and went onto the outside ring and you swung, which you had to, you were actually over the water. You'd have hit mass and you'd have broke something. So it was like, and so, the rings, the water was literally directly under the rings. So as you swung, you're over the water and you just got frames and everything else. So, there's a few things they got wrong, but then they only had about 60 people in the audience as well. And
that's true.
For atmosphere. And it comes across on the telly. It's got to be electrifying and, spectacular.
But if there's a bed of flames on the bottom, no one will let go. It'll be great. People
don't singe my hair.
Just Kate, bringing you back in again. Just talk to me about that atmosphere and what it was like.
The atmosphere was electric. I mean, every season was slightly different. I think in the early seasons, they learned a lot from it, because we didn't even have a sofa back. Didn't we sit in chairs backstage?
In the pig pen?
Yeah. And then by sort of series 5 or 6, we had like this luxury kind of whole thing going on with
one sofa we all shared.
TV monitors and everything. Yeah, exactly. But it was very hard to explain, I think, unless you actually were there and you were part of it all. It's very difficult to explain to anybody, I think. Going out into that arena with the other Glads, it was just like all your hair would stand on end. I just love the competition. And it feels like I can take myself back there like it was yesterday. And 100%. When the music comes on, even now, we are family. I am literally on that platform as we go out with you guys, dancing away.
That's what they should do. That's what they should do. When they introduce the first show, they should have all the old gladiators coming out, all of us, saying we are family. And as it is, and then take it from there, 100%. Because I think that's the way of, to be fair, not trying to push us all into it or whatever. But I think in order to bring that familiar kind of energy, they would have to incorporate some of us, even if we just sit in the audience or something like that, so it's not cold turkey.
I think better than that, being backstage, mentoring, actually helping with the training. We've been through all of that. So you could find contenders to actually work with. I mean, I think that would be super cool.
Do you know what I remember? In the first couple of years, you might not remember, the first couple of years, it was all about big hair, bouffante. I had a perm, back combed, hairsprayed. Then they put this great big hard hat helmet. You did as well. Hard hat helmet on, wetting your balls off, aren't you? Then at the end,
I haven't got balls, by the way, but I'll let you go on.
Or Wijk comes up to you with microphone, cameras in your face, helmet comes off, hands like that.
I remember
like a poodle.
Get her hair
Exactly. I remember when Kenny used to say, "Yeah, come on, Rebel, you need to be more feminine. You've got to do this." I'd put like long weaves on, big red lipstick, blue eyeshadow, and then I looked at myself online and on TV, and I was like, "You poor thing, Jennifer. Like, it's so not you. It's all this thing of trying to be like over glamorous." And I was like, "Kenny, I just can't do it. Like, I just couldn't do it. I had to be myself." Yeah.
Listen, everybody, hope you guys have a great rest of the day, evening, wherever you are. It's been really, really good seeing you all.
You too.
And I know I was only in it for 2 seconds. You know, it's just good to see your faces and that. And you do all look like 55 years older. I just want to tell you.
You buzzards.
We love you too.
You only safely say that because you're away.
Yeah. You can say it because you're going, but you don't know. We got
chicken. You're such a chicken.
Right, Suzie, let's bring you back in now, and we've got some new Glads joining us as well. It just feels like it's a constant party, a conveyor belt.
Who's there?
So Tina, are you there? Can you hear us now? Laser.
Oh my gosh, you guys look amazing. Guys. Rebel, you look younger than I last seen you. Oh my god.
Listen, take care. I'm trying to get out of this. I don't get out of the room.
Go on, go. We don't need you now. Off you go.
Producer Paul, boot him out.
Yeah, take your 50 years with you.
Oh dear.
It's so good to see people. It's just incredible. This is just so amazing. So amazing.
Well, I see you all the time in Primark.
I know. No, listen. My girls have said to me, they're like, Mum, that's child abuse. That's child abuse.
But Tina, it's lovely to see you. And, you know, for you, again, it's a 30-year celebration of Gladiators, but you obviously joined in a bit later. And what was it like coming into that team?
So surreal. And it was so quick. I was in Reading one day, and the next day I had to run out in an audience in front of 7,000 people to a song that I just listened like 5 minutes ago. So it was nuts.
Yeah, and who else we got? We got Khan, just a bit like Kim. You had a phenomenal win rate as well for a Gladiator.
How are you doing, everyone?
Oh, Khan, hi.
Long time no see.
Yeah, absolutely.
Khan, what were your memories from being on the show then, back when you were on?
I live in Birmingham, and I remember passing the Glads in previous years and seeing, and I used to know Wolf because we used to go for auditions all the way in London for castings because we used to do commercials, and I used to bump into him. And one day I was walking past the library and I saw Mike, and I said, "What are you doing here?" I said, "There's a new series called Gladiators." I said, "What?" It took me another 5-6 years with hard effort to actually to get into the Glads. So there I was. When I got into it, it was 97. Pinching myself, I thought, "My goodness, I've made it." It was very hard though. It was one of the hardest trainings. I actually auditioned 2 years earlier, and I didn't even get a look in because I wasn't fit enough. I just got a phone call, and I had about a week to get ready, which wasn't enough. And I remember doing it was in the nautical school in London, and turning up there, and it was one of the hardest fitness tests I've ever experienced. So it was brutal. And then I took 2 years out, trained like a possessed individual, and then I went back, and everything seemed easy. It was really weird. It was the same exercises, but it was much easier the second time.
It's funny that you work hard and suddenly things become a lot easier. Bullit's also here. Mike, can you hear us?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes. Look at that.
Oh my gosh.
I should call the dust off behind my door.
Bullit, the only one who has MBE at the end of their Zoom username as well. Do we have any other honours here?
No.
I have to put that on. I use it for work as well.
All right.
Yeah. I reckon whenever Mike is introduced to someone, the first thing, Mike Harvey MBE. That's exactly what I would say with an MBE or OB or CBE, anything like that. I'd be the same.
What do you do?
I'm in charge of transport system.
Oh, cool. Oh, well done. Congratulations.
Yeah, very impressive.
But Mike, while we have you here, because obviously you competed in Wembley Live in 93, which events did you enjoy most at the live shows in at Wembley?
My thing was the atmospheres.
Interesting. Why did you like that one? Because you were a caged animal.
Yes.
But surely they were... They were difficult. They need I think all the events, they all had a slight knack to them. But presumably, was Atmospheres one that you just had to kind of go with and try your hardest to get right?
Yeah, I think the thing with Atmosphere that I got it right in the end. With many practice sessions on it.
Yeah, and Mike, obviously, you finally made it onto the TV screens for the Legends episode. Did you feel a bit like you were telling people that you were a gladiator, but no one kind of believed you until you were actually on people's TV screens?
And that show was harder than anything else because they had games that you weren't really used to.
Yeah, and Suzie, there's been a lot of talk about who might be possibly the new ref going into the reboot. Mike Dean or the Welsh rugby.
Yes. Nigel Owens, definitely for the new referee. If John obviously doesn't get the job, obviously his first choice. But Nigel, I thought he'd be amazing. I actually contacted him on Twitter and just said, you have to do this. This is just totally right for you. You need to get your agent or whoever onto this right now. And if you do get the job, can I please be the assistant ref? I think I'll be quite good at that. I'm quite bossy. I quite like rules when it comes to sport, especially if I'm going to win. That always helps. But yeah, definitely. It's an iconic role, very important role on the show. Need something really, really strong character, someone good, someone unique. That doesn't sort of blend in with the rest of the show.
It's an important role, right?
One of the things is that if you go into the show, you've got to be yourself. You've got to just enjoy it, not think that you're bigger or more important than the actual show. And the thing that we had, which made it successful, is that we all had fun and we all took the mickey out of each other. We did it on a regular basis. No one really ever took themselves serious. We always were there, like having a laugh and just, I think for me, in terms of from track and field to Gladiators, I think it's the best thing I ever did. It's one of my greatest moments. I loved it. And, seeing everybody, still sort of like just tells me just the fact that why we all get on so well is because we still have a laugh. We can still laugh at each other now.
Ali, how important is it going to be to have some form of Scottish representation on the new show?
Oh, well, obviously, seriously important. Yes. I mean, it took long enough for them to allow somebody Scottish in there, and obviously as well as John. But he was a big part of how I got on the show. So, and he took it really seriously, and he was, he was a great coach as well as being a brilliant umpire. And then, of course, he just brought in his kind of own personality. So it would be, it's great to have representation from lots of different areas. It doesn't just need to be Scotland.
Yeah, that's true. The Welsh Dragon would be perhaps a good gladiator as well. Paul, have you spoken to John recently?
I did. I spoke to John Anderson yesterday, and he's very interested in being the referee on the new series as well. He still definitely has the gladiator call out. He gave me a blast of that yesterday down the phone, so that was really good. But he was very disappointed that some of the news reports saying that he's too old to do it, because he said that he's definitely not, and he would be there in a heartbeat if they would invite him back. So you never know, we might get John Anderson back after all.
Super duper on here. Lovely to see everybody, and thank you very much.
Yeah,
We should do this weekly. Have a good catch up. Have fun. Lots of love to you all.
When it came to team events, who did you want on your side?
I'll tell you, I have to say, even though I loved all the girls, whenever I had Suzie and Helen, we had major fun. Major fun. Like, we would literally want to go out and just, annihilate as many of them as we could. We'd have our little pointers about what to do and what not to do, especially with Suzie. Like, we had such a ball. Like, we were thick as thieves, as they would say, in terms of what we were trying to do, especially with Powerball. I mean, Powerball was our thing.
According to some, he is the ultimate gladiator.
According to himself.
Yeah, exactly.
James Crossley. James, how's it going? How's the training going?
All good. Yeah. All good.
Bench pressing.
Hold on, you lost for words. That's not James. Oh, look, it's all gone quiet now. It's all gone too serious.
Well, what are we doing? Are we live? Are we live on stage?
James, it's all about you right now. It's all about you.
Are we on? Is it on?
James, what do you think about the reboot for next year with the BBC?
Well, nobody knows anything about it, do they? It's just all we know is that they've got the okay from MGM and they've bought the right 11 shows, and it's Sheffield, but they haven't really kind of given anything else away, have they? So it's all kind of everyone's assuming or guessing what could be or what might be, but nobody really has any clue because they haven't really given much away, have they?
Tell us, James, thinking back all those years ago for you, I mean, obviously we're doing 30 years this year. It's not quite 30 years for you, but in terms of your standout memories from being on the show, what would you say they were?
Well, you know what? The standout memory for me was the traveling was amazing. being able to go over to Australia, South Africa, Mauritius, and I think to be able to work abroad, do the shows in a different country and to experience new cultures and stuff, that for me was standout trips, definitely.
James, do you remember when you and Warren replaced all the cans of beer in South Africa with water? You put water in all the cans of beers, and every time you go for a game, you just went down 3 cans of lager.
Yeah, well, they almost pulled the filming. Basically, what I did, there was a load of beers around. In fact, I gave Wolf one, and I filled the beers with water, and I gave Wolf a beer, and I had one, and Warren, and we just said, right, when the production walk in, we're going to be sucking on a San Miguel. They did. And they thought we were drinking beers before we were filming the Legends, the Sky reboot show. But yeah, it didn't go down well. Put it like that.
It's funny though.
Yeah, well, we thought it was funny, yeah.
Obviously, we couldn't possibly do a 30th anniversary without the main man who's come up quite a few times so far today. Wolfie, are you there?
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yes!
Good to see you.
Hi, good morning, everyone.
Hi, Wolf.
Hi.
Hi.
Even though it's been so many damn years, it's, we all could actually just start talking and laughing and joking like it was yesterday. That's how good the rapport was amongst all of us. It was such a great moment, such a great moment in time. I can definitely say that.
Yeah, I loved it that we all stuck to our gladiator names as well.
Yeah.
I couldn't remember your real names if I tried.
I know, because there's too many mics anyway. So listen, we've all got it all mixed up anyway, for sure.
Yeah, I know. I think the first year there were 5 mics, I think.
Mike, take us back 30 years ago then, and just about to go into that arena for the first time. Thoughts on what you thought about the show and whether you thought it was going to be a success or not?
I thought the premise was good, but as it was going to be a success or not, I don't know, because it's a live audience. So it's how everyone was going to react to us. When you think about it, 10,000 people at a live audience, that's huge. The very first year to establish yourself, that was the hardest, because people didn't know who Gladiators were. What they saw the American show late at night about 1 o'clock in the morning. Yet the audiences were there, even though it hadn't started. It was just, the fact that they saw all the little trailers and they were attracted to it straight away.
James, who would have been the best female and male Glads on the Eliminator then, do you think, taking yourself out of the equation?
Lightning for the females. For the men Gladiators, Ace, Warren. Where is he? Has he gone?
He saw us for 5 minutes. He's off. He's like, said hi, then walked off.
Yeah, I think Warren was pretty, because he was a roofer, so he was very good at the balancing, very good at beams, balancing on beams or roofs.
Mike, for you, 30 years, I asked this to Dio right at the start. Can you believe it's been 30 years? And are you surprised at how big the following still is 30 years on?
Let me tell you something that happened yesterday, and this absolutely shocked me. On my Instagram, I got a message from a tattoo artist who showed me that a girl called Sophie just had my picture as a gladiator tattooed on her arm or leg. I'm not sure. It's on her body. This is 30 years on.
That's
crazy.
So cool. That's so cool.
I mean, to have the tattoo's for life, isn't it? Unless you know what I mean? So to have a tattoo of me put on there, I thought, you've got to be crazy.
I don't know if anyone's going to be able to answer this one, but maybe James or Mike, you might know this. But why did the boys only get to do the Battle of the Giants?
To be honest with you, we didn't know what we were doing. We were just told what to do. We didn't have a say in it. Same as the games. You don't tell them. You'd come backstage and there'd be a little thing on the wall. We'd tell you what games are on. And sometimes when we're doing 3 shows, on the very first show, you'd be told what to do. On the second show, when I'm saying 3 shows on the same day, on the second show, you'd have it'd come up to you and say who got hurt, and then maybe you can't swing or you can't run, and then so you're eliminated from those things and you can do something else. By the third show, it was who can do what. Because,
it's so true.
So you might end up doing 3 things, not because you're good at those 3 things, because everyone else
no one else available. You're so right.
Yeah,
you're so right.
Basically, sometimes, remember we did 2 shows. In the beginning, there was just 1 show every couple of days or 1 show a week. But as they got slicker and quicker and loaded everything into the ceiling and lowered it down, sometimes we were doing a show in the morning, 1 in the afternoon, and sometimes a celebrity one or something else in the evening, and everyone coming out was fresh and we weren't. Yeah, in the beginning, sometimes it was like 5-6 days for 1 show because they didn't know what they were doing. There was all, ad hoc and just see how it works until by the second week they realised that sort of second series was a lot slicker They got better and better after that.
Let's just bring you in here, James. I mean, I love always hearing this story, and I know you've probably been doing a bit of it now, but how did you prepare for life as a gladiator? You know, I think you realised that it wasn't just a case of perhaps climbing a rock climbing. You had to do it, with different bits, didn't you? And especially with Atmospheres, you had a special technique you did training-wise to get yourself ready for that.
Well, when I joined the show, I'd come fresh off a bodybuilding stage. I'd only had 7 days coming off a bodybuilding stage to join Gladiators. So I passed the fitness test, but then I came in, I'd never climbed a wall in my life. I'd never really run for a bus because bodybuilders are all about packing on muscle and not being athletic. And I remember I did a couple of the games and Nigel Lithgow came up to me and he just basically said, "Hunter, you," and I was just like, started crying, thinking, what am I doing here? I can't. And that was like the rocky moment. So I went home after kind of battling through the series and just trying to get away with it. And I basically trained twice a day for a year. And what I tried to do was recruit the same muscle movements and muscle groups and motor skills of the games. So for Atmospheres, I was pushing a car around a car park. For the wall, I started joining a climbing wall and eventually I was climbing with a weighted, like a slab of concrete in a backpack. For Powerball, I was playing squash and badminton. And for Duel, I was tying my feet together and boxing. So I had this whole list of drills I was doing to recreate the events because we only got 2 days practice on 12 events. So unless you practice something in your own time, it was impossible to get any better. And because, I was the youngest by so far, I kind of felt I had to prove myself to everybody. So that was why I kind of trained so hard for the shows.
How did it feel coming in being so young compared to the others?
Well, that was one point that they were worried about because when they first met me, I was 18 and they were like, well, you're so young, but they were looking for height. They were really looking for somebody tall and a bodybuilder. And most bodybuilders, when they came to the show, were quite short. So they wanted that kind of height. And the fact that I'd been bodybuilding since I was 12, so I appeared a lot older than I really was. But obviously emotionally and stuff, you're not as mature as 19 as someone who's 30. So it was a case of kind of breaking myself into it. And I mean, everybody was so supportive when I joined. It was like really nice how they took me under their wing. I mean, Cobra, he became like a big brother really because I was staying at his house and he was kind of helping me out with everything. So when I first joined, he was like a really big influence for me.
And let's see, Warren, are you there? I'm just going to unmute you.
Hello, mate. All right.
Wow.
David.
Look, just see how their faces light up when they see each other.
I
love you. We want to give each other a little cuddle.
Wow.
I just want to go back to Wolf there, if you don't mind.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
Of the way he dodged that question when you asked him about equality and why didn't the girl gladiators get to battle each other, and he ended up talking about something completely different. So could you answer the question, please, Mike?
Basically, as I said, I did answer the question. We were told what to do. We didn't. We didn't have a say in it, did we? Really?
I think it was time restraints that they had a certain amount of time to do shows, and they just had time for one show. I think that's probably the reason why.
Yeah, I did the reverse of you in respect of. I know Hunter trained for every single event, but I just turned up on the day and just did it. I didn't practice anything all year round for the show.
In other words, he's trying to say you were, James, because he didn't have to do anything.
No, at the end of the day, you only get a short time to practice, don't you? So I just ended up just turning up and just doing whatever we had to do. Because sometimes with new games, you wouldn't practice for. You didn't know about the game till you got there.
And Warren, for
like
you,
pendulum, where are you going to practice pendulum? You're going to swing on the bridges or something.
Yes.
James probably did.
That's a very good point. I mean, James probably did, yeah. Warren, obviously you didn't come in until 96, so 30 years ago. Were you a fan of Gladiators back then?
Sorry, David. I will answer your question. I'll go ask Wolf. So what, I don't want any contention here, but what you're saying is if you had trained like James had trained and concentrated more on the events, do you think you would have been the better gladiator and potentially the ultimate gladiator? Now, again, I don't want to throw a cat amongst the pigeons. I'm just asking.
Debatable. I was the oldest gladiator there, and James was the youngest gladiator there. When we did that final thing of gladiator against gladiator at the end, I was pitted against James.
Well, I've got to say, Wolf, there's a person in this room called Radvik down in the corner of my screen who was the top man at the Royal Tournament. I reckon he would have taken us all, but he didn't actually get a chance to do the ultimate, the Battle of the Giants, did he? Can you ask him about that, David?
if we can unmute him.
What's he doing?
I love it. I love it.
I think I just love drama, just trying to create some drama.
Well, you created enough drama when you drove me down to the Royal Tournament and I had to put my outfit on in the car because we were so late. Do you remember that? We did a big detour. We had to do a detour to your house And we ended up
that old
by
chestnut.
the skin of our
Oh,
teeth.
yeah. We went
Literally,
down there.
I was like getting changed into my costume in the back of your car while you were like screeching into park. It was hysterical.
My daughter's now looking at me with very wide eyes. I was looking at her, I was driving the vehicle. Okay. There you go.
Is this going to be what it's like when you do your Glad Pod, Warren? Are we going to have to just ask questions and you're just going to ask questions back to us?
No, I'm sorry.
Basically.
What was the question? I'm sorry.
Do you know what? I can't even remember now. I can't even remember. Khan, are you still there? Were you being lined up as a baddie and were you asked to grow your hair?
My issue was they were never really specific. They never elaborated what they wanted me to be. They'd just basically throw you out in the arena and create your own personality. And I think I made the mistake. I wanted to be the silent, menacing type, you know, Dolph Lundgren in Rocky film. I will break you. But on camera, it didn't come across right. So I came across slightly orally challenged, to put it mildly.
You know, it's hard when you first get into the Glads because a lot of them are already established. And, you know, you were trying to make your mark when people had had years and years of recognition and everyone knew who they were. So it's a lot harder for you. In my very first year of Gladiators, I looked at everyone else who'd made the final cut and I thought, Christ, I'm 40 years old and these are all young, fit, good looking, really, you know, exceptional people. How can I stand out in this group and make sure that the next year, I'll be in it? And I was so fortunate, the fact that they gave me the name Wolf, because I had long hair and a beard at the time. And I thought, oh, marvellous, big bad wolf. And I could play on that. And that's what I did, because all the guys were so good that I had to do something that would make me stand out from them guys.
You can come in here, Di. You've been sitting there, you've been listening to all these stories and seeing all these Glads. It's been a nice trip down memory lane, hasn't it?
Oh, it has, very, very much. I mean, I only did the first, was it 4 and a bit years before I left? So I didn't get the privilege of working with some of you guys. And I'm sad about that, but it's so lovely hearing everybody's memories and the standout moments that kind of really no one ever got to see, because obviously it was all behind the camera stuff that was going on, which for me is more of the takeaway and memorable bits from what I can remember when I was on the show as well, and just how much it's still loved to this day. The memories are still so sharp, and goodness knows what it's going to be like next year. I don't know how everybody feels about this, but when the show actually comes out next year, what are you going to be thinking and feeling when you watch a new version of Gladiators? Are they going to use the same theme tune? I mean, who knows? I just think it's going to be quite bizarre. I don't know what anyone else thinks. James?
Well, obviously, we had this again with Sky, didn't we? Well, I remember seeing all the posters up as I was driving down the road and the show came out. So I suppose that they need to keep certain elements of it to keep it in that nature that makes it popular, but then they need to change it enough to be a new show. So that's why they're keeping quiet. They're probably trying to work out the things to keep and the things to kind of add to it to make it their own, but to still keep that Gladiator show that was so popular in the UK and America.
Wolfie, if you could turn the clock back 30 years and do it all over again, would you? And would you do anything differently second time round?
I don't really know, to be honest with you. I think everything played out how I wanted it to play out. I just wish that more shows were user-friendly. I mean, some of the shows, if you were injured, really didn't work for you. They still wanted me to go out there. I remember a couple of times when I was injured and they asked me to do stuff, and because I was the only gladiator throughout the whole 8 years that never missed a show. I never missed one show throughout the whole series, and others missed it sometimes because of injuries or different things. And when I was injured, they asked me to go out, and sometimes I remember I pulled a hamstring and I could hardly walk. And they said, well, can you swing? So I limped up to the podium and I managed to get up there, and I did hang tough. And when I landed, it killed me. Because my hamstring was torn and black and blue. But, sometimes, I wish that they'd given you a chance to recover and not expect you to do every single show like they did with me.
And what have you made of the reboot as well? And would you come back in some sort of role?
Oh, I'd love to. I mean, even though I'm 70 years old in a couple of weeks, but, I can still run, jump, skip, move fast. I still lift heavy. It's not just another day for me. To be honest with you, can you imagine a 70-year-old gladiator springing across the rings?
Yeah, they'll take,
they'll say, oh, you're 3 times older than the contender. That would be funny. But yeah, if in any shape or form I'd like to do that,
Warren, I just remembered but the question that I'd asked, what seems now a lifetime ago, was just about how much of a fan you were of Gladiators 30 years ago before you got your chance to become a Gladiator yourself.
You're going to grab this back to Wolf?
Yeah.
Next time I see you, I'm going to hit you with a bugle stick. More than once. I was a fan of the show, but in all honesty, just as you were talking there and you were talking about like John Anderson there, perhaps this isn't the right forum to share this on. I don't think the geezer really liked me. And I didn't really understand why till I sort of saw him. And I just think from Harlow, and in Harlow, if you was a bit of a wrong un, you was called a Harlow Hobbit. And I think I was a bit of a Harlow Hobbit, in all honesty. And I think here you've got this Olympic coach, you know, working with athletes and everything else. Now all of a sudden he has this Harlow Hobbit to deal with. And most of the times I was bumping into him in the lift with pints of lager in hand and stuff. And so the reality is, before I was on that show, I used to come in from the pub or the nightclub after maybe 6 or 7 pints and a few JDs, and I'd watch it. It was the American show late at night, and I just thought I'd love to be on that show, you know. So I chanced my arm and got on there. So yes, I was a drunken fan of the American series before I was ever a fan. Obviously, look, I can see Vogue there going, that's it now, cut, shut him up, mute him.
It's been great, guys.
Oh, I know. Wonderful to see everyone.
Absolutely.
So we're nearing the end of this very special, extraordinary episode of the Glad Pod, but I've got a bit of a treat for you Glad fans right now. So we've heard from a good number of great gladiators for this episode. However, there were a few who couldn't make it, who have instead sent us some voice messages, which I'm going to play now. We're going to hear from Cobra, Rhino, Blaze, and Two Scoops. But first, here's one of the OGs. It's Saracen.
Hi guys, sorry I can't be with you today. It's been kind of hectic recently, but just want to send a message to say thank you. Thank you to all the fans who's kept the dream alive all these years. Without you guys, we won't be here. So thank you very much. Also, once we send our thank yous out, we have to thank the staff and the crew that made the show possible. So the cameramen, the sound technicians, the lighting technicians, the riggers, the guys who built the set, all these people, too much to mention, but thank these guys too. So without these guys, there wouldn't have been a show. Thank you all. Here's to another 30 years. Hopefully we will be around in 30 years' time. See you guys soon.
Paul Noddings has asked me to leave a message for the 30th anniversary of Gladiators, and quite frankly I'm sick of Gladiators. 30 years talking about it. I've had enough. Up to here with it. Well, actually I'm up to there with it now. I've shrunk. I don't know, what you say? Congratulations, well done. We're still alive 30 years later? I don't know. But anyway, everyone, have a great day. I'm going to just try and get away from Gladiators. Hold on, what's this on the telly? I love this show. Bye.
Yo, happy 30th anniversary, Gladiators. Wow, what a journey. Listen, big shout out to all the fans. Thank you very much. Changed my life, and I'll always be indebted to you guys, man. Big up all the Gladiators. Big up everyone. Respect. Keep it moving. Let's go. Rhino's out. Bless.
Contenders ready? Gladiators ready? Hey, yo. This is Wesley Two Schoolsbury, your 3-time Gladiator champion, 2-time International Gladiator champion, coming live to you from the US of A. Hey, to the International Gladiator community and to all of his fans, I want to say thank you because we're coming up on a 30-year anniversary. I hold a couple of photos of myself from the Gladiator times. It was a delight to be able to be in the presence and in the midst of all the fans. I also hold here the 3-time Gladiator champion belt. And I know that all of the fans in the UK really had a great time seeing me become the 2-time International Gladiator champion. That being said, to all of the Gladiators, both in the USA and also in the UK, keep on keeping the Gladiator name alive and thriving. And if you guys want to see me come back and kick some butt once again, just let the staff know. And guess what? On the way I'll be going. God bless America. God bless each and every one of you. I'm Two Scoops Wesley Berry, the 3-time Gladiator champion, 2-time International Gladiator champion, and I'm out.
Hello, Gladiator world. So, Gladiator fan world, hope everyone's great. I just wanted to say a few words because I couldn't make the podcast today, but it's me, it's Eunice. Mad thing is, anytime I watch one of them shows, it's like I wasn't watching me, I was watching somebody else. It's so crazy. And of course, the door that it opened was amazing. A lot of you know what happened with me, but I was the daft scouser that came on the show for a laugh, and it ended up transforming my world. And since then, I've been involved in the film industry, second unit directing Marvel movies, stunt coordinating with the likes of J.J. Abrams, and stunt doubling Angelina Jolie in a career that spanned 28 years. So I'm just as tripped out as anyone else is, believe you me.
My standout people is Jet and John Anderson. John Anderson was a very good person to actually turn to if you was feeling intimidated by anything. Not that it was for me, but when I had to do the international show, I was so homesick, I just wanted to go home. John Anderson was a good person who basically lifted me back up. Of course, Jet, Diane, was just like a mate all the time, just great. Obviously, though, when you're in the field, she was a competitor, but yeah, lovely. Lightning and the boys all had massive ego. Sorry if anyone's listening to this, but to the boys, it was, if you lost, it was detrimental. To the girls, you just got a little arm around you going, I'm going to get you next time, Eunice, don't worry about that. So there was a different sort of competitive edge, and I preferred the girls' side because even though the competition level was still really high, you know, with the boys, there was like a little bit of intimidation and it was all... Anyway, sorry, boys, if you're all dead mad at that, but that was my observation. I had a short stint as Blaze, of course, which was okay. It was good fun, but my sort of film career was taken off, so that's the direction I went in. And that's it now. That's it in a nutshell. Hope everyone's well out there. Thank you for all the support, for all the Gladiator memorabilia, all the memories, and the new show. I really hope, I'm 55 now, with 2 metal lips from a heavy martial art and stunt career, 2 ACL reconstructions. One of my toes I smashed up in a stunt, so it's smaller than the rest. My big toe's the smallest toe. I've got ankle damage. Oh, it's all fine. I wouldn't change anything for the world. But people are asking me, am I going to go on the new show? And the answer to that is definitely not. And I almost think they tried to revamp it once. And my thing is, I really think that they should just be reinventing it. And they've got to go bigger and better. The show was a phenomenal when we did it. They've got to go bigger and better. So I hope the BBC do it proud, because it's a show that people really want to see. It's a competition that people really want to enjoy. If I was in charge of it, I would be going bigger and better and stronger and faster and more exciting, and I'd be doing everything, but I wouldn't be associating it with the older show. People might not agree with that, but I don't think it should be nostalgic. I think the new show should be brand new. Lots of love to you all, and have a good one as always.
Paul, for you, 30 years, you're a grown man now. For a lot of the Glads that we've spoken to, you were just a wee boy looking back. So what are your memories of the show coming on 30 years ago?
Yeah, I was 10 years old when it was first on, and I just remember seeing the first TV advert and being hooked on it from then. And yeah, just having the opportunity to go and actually watch the show, see it live, and then meet all of these like real life superheroes, I suppose, was just a fantastic experience, and something that I will obviously has stayed with me throughout my entire life. So yeah, there's just been nothing like it. It's going to be so weird to see it come back now as a 40-year-old on the BBC. I just hope that it lives up to everything that the original was. If not, always got the original to fall back on and remember as the best. So yeah, let's hope they can make something of it.
Di, I asked Wolfie this question. I'll ask you the same one. If you could go back 30 years and do it over again, with it being the 30th anniversary, would you, and what would you do differently?
Probably not get hurt. If I had my 24-year-old body, it would be an absolute pleasure. I'd still do my three cartwheels and a few flick flacks and a few hair flicks. Yeah, with a much younger body, and I wouldn't do anything that different at all, because I loved just what I did, and I just loved it as it was. It's a fabulous memory.
With the injury, had that not happened, I don't know, you went back in time, you did it all over again, and that day you didn't get injured. What do you see your gladiatorial journey? How much further do you think it would have continued? Do you think you would have been like Wolf and gone the whole stretch?
I'd love to, like yourself, Wolf, and Saracen and Kim, James. I'd love to have done it all the way to the very end. I'd have had to dig deep, but yeah, I'd have been there. Absolutely.
Paul, for you, series 3, without giving too much away, we've got some good people potentially lined up, right?
Well, there's some people on this call right now that I definitely want to get for their own individual episodes so we can proper dive deep into their gladiatorial story. So yeah, I will definitely be getting in touch with some of the gladiators that I've featured tonight to kind of really represent their story and how they kind of went down on Gladiators, really. So yeah.
I think this is going to be a fantastic series. There's going to be more additional content that we're going to be putting out there into the Glad world for you guys all to enjoy. From me, guys, it's been an absolute pleasure. I really enjoyed it, and hopefully I've managed to steer this ship through to its destination through a couple of stormy elements, but we got there in the end.
Good competition, good spirit, great sportsmanship as both contenders show mutual respect. Join us again next week for the ultimate challenge, the might of